Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you joining me today. Are you feeling stressed because you're aiming high? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel like your goals are too big? Good. That's actually the intent. You need to understand that pressure is the catalyst to actually achieving whatever you want. Stress is your friend and the sign that you're in the right direction. You need to understand that it's okay to feel these things. Now, if it's getting to the point where it's truly health detrimental, okay, then maybe we got some other issues to solve, right? But if you have anything above average from the results that you want, from the money that you make, the marriage that you want, the friendships that you want, the life that you want to live, the travel you want to accomplish, it does not matter. If you want to go above average, that means you have to incur stress and impact to you that the average person is not willing to do. These are the signs that you're actually moving in the right direction. Okay. And I will say that this was one of the most liberating things to be told, to be given permission to be stressed, right? To understand that negative thoughts and depression and anxiety, like those are a luxury to feel to some extent, right? Like I'm not going to say those are a positive thing and a symptom that you're going in the right direction. But when you are taking action towards the goals that you want, it is very unlikely that those things are actually present. They are probably a sign that you're maybe moving in the wrong direction, or you don't have a narrow scope enough. Again, I always say generally that depression feels like hopelessness because you don't know where to go. So when you feel depressed, you need to take a step back and say, what's the next thing to do? That will give you the direction. That solves hopelessness. If you're feeling anxiety, then you probably have too many options in front of you and you don't know what to do. Take the step back. Out of the 10 things in front of me, what's the one thing to do? Okay? But understand that being stressed, being overwhelmed, feeling like you have a mountain to climb, these are par for the course, right? This is what hard feels like. I've mentioned multiple times in my TikTok, I have quotes that come up. I have 3 quotes a day, every single day that come up as reminders for my mindset to recenter my framing, etc. One of them is, this is what hard feels like. So even as I'm saying this to you, I also feel it, right? I am not immune to this. We are human. We are not going to be immune to it. Okay. I'm trying to remember who the quote is. But it's, loneliness is a tax for a certain complexity of mind, right? Or yeah, I think that's pretty close. I definitely messed that up a little bit. But for being ambitious, for having a complicated mindset, these are all taxes that you pay and they are part of your story, right? Like they will be the story that you tell of, oh man, I slept on the floor, or oh man, I lost my money twice, or oh my God, I got fired from my job 4 times, or whatever the story or the stress is for you achieving what you want. That's intended. That is not a bug. That is a feature. And here's the joy that should get you through all of this is early on, immediately, as soon as you can, you need to choose your hard, right? Because here's the thing. Let's take it out of the equation, the lofty goals. Do you think it's harder to be, let's say, 60th percentile, where, you're trying to achieve 10% over the average salary, and you are actually trying to have, maybe $20,000 in the bank and, have a healthy marriage that lasts from the time of 30 years old until you die, right? Like just some of these, things that aren't exorbitant. You're not trying to be the richest man in the world. You're, I go to my job, I take my 2 weeks of vacation a year, so on and so forth. Like you live a pretty standard lifestyle. Okay. Is that harder? Or is it harder to make $500 a week, live in a rundown place, and try to figure out how the hell you even put food on your table? Is it even worth asking the question, which one's harder? Or can we just acknowledge that they're both hard? So if you have hard for underachieving and you have hard for overachieving, why not pick the hard that gets you the greater results? Choose your hard. Do this early on. Like if it's hard in either direction, whether you're above average or below average, and even average is technically hard, right? Like every situation is hard. Then why not just pick the one that has positive returns, that actually gives you above average returns, right? So you struggle day to day, or would you rather struggle decade to decade, right? And the struggle decade to decade still gets you more all along the way. So when I say that stress is baked in, overwhelm is baked in, I mostly am framing that in the positive way so that you have the permission to do so. But even if you went to the worst case scenario, pretty sure it's still stressful to be homeless, to live on the street, to not have a shelter, to not know where your next meal comes from, right? This is still stressful. This is still hard. So pick one. Plain and simple. Okay? Again, let's actually use these both scenarios. I have one of my key components to everything that I preach and all the client work that I do is adaptability is key. Adaptability is the core of everything. Think about it from both points of view. Again, if you're going to be adaptable at the high end, then it's going to be you have your lofty goals and maybe that shifts. Maybe there's market transitions. Maybe you have a relationship challenge that was unexpected. Maybe your friend, completely leaves the state and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? On the flip side, if you got to make do to figure out how to put food on the table, pay rent and all those things for $500 a month, have fun pulling that off, right? Or again, you're homeless and a storm comes through, right? Like they both have forms of adaptability. The skill is completely relevant and you need to do this because over planning, right? You need to be adaptable. And the key to this is to not just plan, but go the next level from planning into action. I've said this before and I'll say it again. And one of the framings I like for this is preparation versus planning, right? So planning is sitting there with like pen and pad and writing down, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And here's the next day. And here's the next week and the next 6 months and blah, 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 blah. That's planning. Literally useless. You did nothing, right? Preparation, think more practice, right? So again, take something like salary negotiation, one of the key components that I coach on. I tell people, practice in the mirror, record yourself, do it with ChatGPT, use the voice function and tell it that you need it to be a stubborn boss that you need to convince that you're worth $5,000 more, and practice that conversation with it. Practice it in the mirror. Are you willing to pay you $5,000 more? Because if you're not willing to pay you $5,000 more, how do you expect anybody else to, right? So there's a difference between planning and action and practice and preparation. And that is what leads to adaptability, is you get reps over and over again. You garner more skills consistently over time. And this allows you to be like, oh, well, market shift over here. I'm going to move this way. Oh, I got a fist in my face. I'm going to duck. Okay. That is the key component. My personal story that I always like to go to for my adaptability was I made the big mistake. 7 years into my career, I took a 2-year break. I took a 2-year break because I felt, you know what? I had the money. I had the assets. Not a big deal. I'm going to take a break from work. I can come back at any time and I'll be fine. And what ended up happening in those 2 years is my IT career path went through a huge evolution of the cloud technology and cloud adoption all across the globe and across every single industry. And I was not familiar with this. So after 2 years, when I was trying to return back to the industry, I literally took a 50% pay cut, and it took me 5 years to get back to the same money I was at before. So this was a massive, massive mistake in a way, but I was at least able to come back to the market immediately because I did have enough skills that I was still marketable, but I had to be adaptable enough to go, okay, well, I can't just rest on my laurels. I need to kick ass and take names, and I need to map out what my skills are. I'm lacking here, here, and here in cloud. What's the first one I conquer? How do I conquer that? Am I going to get a certification? Or am I just going to take the classes? Or am I just going to get the experience? Boom, 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 boom. And it was one thing after another. Like I said, it took me 5 years just to get back to where I was before the 2-year break, right? So for a 2-year break, it cost me 7 years of my life. Not a great idea, but I was able to get through it because I had the adaptability and the skills that I learned all along the way, pull this off. And going back to what I said before, for better or worse, I chose my hard. That was it. That was the difficulty that I had to do. And one of the things that I want to tap into here is to move away from planning into adaptability and action is a little bit of a dopamine hack, right? So the key thing to do here is we usually get a dopamine rush when we like learn something new or watch a new video, or even when we take an action, we complete a project, like whatever it is. And the thing is to recognize that. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to recognize and express gratitude and take a second to really rest in the dopamine that comes from action. The dopamine from reading a book or watching a video or whatever, you don't really acknowledge that dopamine. Like it's going to come naturally. Like that's just how the brain works. It learns something new. It's cool. It's exciting. But you don't revel in it. You don't rest in it. You don't reinforce that chemical reward. You reinforce the chemical reward that you get for performing an action. And when that makes you feel good, take a second and go, man, that was a great accomplishment. I really appreciate what I just did. And that will begin to slowly hack your system to saying, oh, this is where we want to focus on the dopamine hits. And the thing with dopamine is it actually reinforces the brain wiring and neurons that happened just before the hit. So when you acknowledge it and you're like, man, this feels good and this feels great, then you're adding to that reinforcement of the action that you took, not the thing that you researched or the thing that you planned. Right? You're not reinforcing that. So you're adding an additional layer of armor on top of this equation. And so this is how, when you have rough years or rough, you're staring at a mountain ahead of you that you need to break down into small components and you're just not sure where to start, right? You take the first action. You need to learn, again, Excel, I think was an example I previously gave. You need to learn Excel. I'm going to open up Excel today, and I'm just going to open it and close it. That's step one, right? Then I'm going to open it. I'm going to learn how to type in cells, learn how to navigate it. Awesome. Okay, so now I can open it and I can type stuff in. Now I'm going to go figure out an Excel class. I'm going to research that Excel class. I'm going to map it out, and I'm going to hit go. You're going to watch the first lesson, walk away. Second lesson, walk away. Third lesson, walk away, right? You're going to learn these things. Then after each lesson, what you're going to do is you're going to take the lesson, go practice it in the spreadsheet. Make up a make-believe example. You just learned how to make tables. Sweet. I'm going to look at different dog breeds and figure out which one is the right for me. You're going to input all the information. You're going to make the table. You're going to learn to sort it. You're going to practice that exercise. And then when you do that exercise, reward yourself every single time. That first time when you opened Excel and then you closed it, that's an action. Reward yourself for that. Ignore the planning and the dopamine hit you get from that. Focus on reinforcing the dopamine you get from action. And this will lead to more skills, more skill development, which ultimately leads to adaptability. And then getting back to kind of the root of this video, right? Where stress and overwhelm and these things are just baked in. We're going to focus a little bit more on the positive side, I guess, here. Because like I said, most of these things affect both whether you choose mediocrity or sub-mediocrity or you choose excellence. They're both hard. They're both stressful. They're both adaptable. This is also a universal principle, but I'm going to focus it on the positive, which is just understanding it's not supposed to be easy. If it were easy, everybody would have it. If everybody had $1 million, would be being a millionaire at all exciting? Would that be an achievement? No. Is it an achievement to be able to, I don't know, jump up and down once? Or can 98% of people do this? So you need to look at that it's not supposed to be easy if you want to achieve anything, again, worthwhile or above average. Difficulty is baked in. On the flip side, just because something is difficult, it does not mean it is valuable. So this is the other distinction that you have to make, is just because you are encountering difficulty does not mean that you are doing something worthwhile. But absolutely, things that are worthwhile are going to be difficult every single time. Okay? And so you need to reframe that stress and that difficulty as an investment into who you are. Going back to what we were saying of doing it early on, right? Understanding that you are doing this investment, you are taking on this stress, you are performing this action, you are doing this hard thing so that you get the result in the end. Okay? This is the biggest thing that I had to learn. I remember having a conversation with my dad to where I was just like, honestly, I don't understand why I can't have 51% of my existence be positive and happy. And he was like, that's your expectation? Like, that's your benchmark? And I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem unreasonable. That I have more positive moments than negative moments. And he was like, that's entirely unreasonable. He said, show me a case where that's the world we live in, right? He went back to sports, right? Like me playing soccer, me playing football, right? Like it's more negative in terms of stress versus excitement, right? Like what are the exciting moments in soccer? I was goalie. So when our team scored, when I blocked a shot, like when I did something impressive. What's the stressful part? When the other team has the ball, when your team doesn't have the ball, when your defensemen aren't doing that, when the refs are getting involved, when the parents are yelling at you, right? There's so much more negative in an overall positive experience of a fun athletic education, right? It's understanding that these are all baked in and reframing the stress as the investment into the future and the positive. It's worth it. Now, just because, going back to an example of just because something is hard doesn't mean it's worthwhile. We can say, okay, let's my alternative to career is fitness. And if you've ever seen a planche push-up, so this is doing a push-up with your feet not on the ground. Okay. If you're someone who's like, you know what, I just want like a slightly average body, right? So I'm a very average sized man. I'm literally 5'9" and $175. So if I was like, you know what, that's where I want to be. Why do I need to learn to do a planche push-up? Why? Incredibly difficult. What is the value add to my life? Does it contribute to my retirement? No. Does it contribute to my marriage? No. Does it contribute to my friendship? No. Does it contribute to anything in my life that I want to achieve in my end game or goals? No. Highly difficult, not worthwhile. So you need to ask yourself that distinction as well. Okay. And I've mentioned this analogy multiple times. Sometimes you're staring at the mountain and it's 4,000 feet in front of you and you have no idea where to start. You start 1 foot in front of you, left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay. It's that climb to the 4,000 feet that prepares you for the summit, because here's what you're going to learn at the summit. There's another one after that is just the nature of the beast. It is, you are on this climbing period, you reach the top of that mountain, and then you're like, well, okay, I can like stay here, I guess. But if you took the time to climb the mountain, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go, well, I could do that mountain. That means I could do another one. And then you're going to pick another mountain. And then you're going to do it again. And then you're going to do it again. Now, the crappier part is each mountain that you climb reduces kind of your social circle and your network typically, because you're going to have people that are not very happy that you're climbing the mountains and that you are reflections of what they are incapable of. So you need to understand that that climb is going to prepare you for that in that way, because usually that's a very lonely climb as well. So you need to be prepared for that aspect. But very, very, very few of us are going just for the one peak and stopping. Even if you say, I want to retire by 50, you're not going to do that mountain all at once. You're going to break that down. Like we said earlier, you're going to break it down into micro actions. Those micro actions are going to lead to actual actions. Those actions are going to lead to milestones. The milestones are then going to compile into said total amount. So you're going to have multiple peaks. And that is something that just, I want the clients that I work with and you guys out there to know that it's okay to feel the suck, because it sucks. And that's just a part of the process. And I have a lot of clients that I work with, whether it be people transitioning from healthcare to project management, from COO to CEO, out of a commercial real estate into healthcare. I'm just kind of coming up with some different transitions that I've made, or people. And it's one of those things to where they, even though some of these people, like I mentioned, COO to CEO, is like a high achiever to another high achiever, they still just appreciated the permission that this sucks and acknowledging that it's going to. And that frankness is something that I think just not enough people are told or hear. And I know that I was one of them. that just, I got it to some extent growing up, but there was a level that just nobody prepares you for in adulthood. You're just kicked into the deep end and told to swim and figure it out. And these struggles are just all baked in. This is what hard feels like. And stress is your friend. Again, as long as it's not causing you a heart attack. So remember that stress is proof that you're climbing. Climbing leads you to the summit. That summit is not going to be your last one, but because you made it to that one, you can get to the next one. And how you continue to do that over and over and over again is adaptability. And just take each step all along the way. And that's how you get to wherever it is that you want to go. Whether you want to be 10th percentile, 50th percentile, 80th percentile, 100th percentile, it doesn't matter. That's the process to get into either direction. Because even if you're going to go really far down and you want to be bottom 5th percentile, you're not going to get there overnight. It's the same as what I was saying before. It's choose your hard. Which hard do you want? And how do you get there? Hope you like this video. Leave a comment down below. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'll ask them in the comments as well. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. I appreciate you joining me today. We are also live on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and Instagram. Check us out there. And until next time, thank you.